Hi, welcome to my show. My name is Sue, and we're going to do some Greek cooking today. In fact, we're going to do some vegetarian Greek cooking. And believe it or not, in spite of all the lamb that you'll see at Greek festivals and in Greek restaurants, most Greek people do eat quite a few vegetarian dishes. Keeping cattle, keeping any kind of sheep and goats thriving on the Greek countryside was always difficult, and animals were only slaughtered traditionally for very, very special occasions, such as breaking the Easter fast or breaking the Lenten fast to celebrate Easter. So there's numerous vegetarian recipes, and today we're going to do one that was my dad's favorite. It was one of his favorites. It's called spinach and rice, Spanakorizo. And it's really delicious. It's kind of hearty and substantial, yet at the same time, it's very flavorful, and it could be an important part of a nice light luncheon or a light dinner. It's meat-free, but full of flavor. Just a reminder, you can find today's recipe and all the recipes we've used on this show on our website, Tweeton.com. Not only will you find our recipes, but videotapes are available through the website. And you can email me, and I'd love to hear from you. It's always fun to get a message from someone who's been watching this show. And in addition, there are links to other interesting Greek sites that will give you more insight into the Greek culture. And of course, a lot more recipes too. Now let's get on with today's recipe, spinach and rice. To make a dish like spinach and rice, you're going to need spinach. Now you can use 2 packages of already frozen chopped spinach, which is nice. You can buy packages of baby spinach, a couple packages of those, or you can buy fresh spinach in your produce section, and just be sure that you wash it very, very carefully, because spinach has a tendency to be dirty and gritty. So you need to wash it a couple times and then remove the tough stems. You need a cup of long grain white rice. You'll need an entire bunch of green onions. Not one, but an entire bunch, the whole thing, whole bunch. You'll need 1 large regular onion. You'll need some fresh parsley. It should be chopped up to make at least a half cup. You'll need some garlic, 2 to 4 cloves, an 8-ounce can of tomato sauce, and for seasoning, you'll need some mint, some dill weed, and some oregano. And of course, to saute everything, a good quality olive oil. This is really a very, very simple dish. It's easy to make, and one of the great advantages, not only is it light, it's not got any kind of cholesterol or anything like that, but it doesn't heat up the kitchen. So it's a wonderful dish for those hot, hot days when you do want something a little substantial, but you just don't want to end up baking or frying for a long, long time. This is a perfect, perfect dish. The first thing is to get the vegetables ready, and I'm going to start with the parsley. Just simply separating the parsley leaves from the stem, and then I'm going to chop them. I need a half cup of parsley, fresh chopped parsley. Now if I get a little more, that's not a problem, but I want to make sure I get at least a half cup. Okay, I think I've got enough. I'm going to start chopping and then just check to make sure I have enough. I can always have a little more, but I don't want to have less. Parsley adds a nice earthiness, a nice freshness to the entire dish. I've got to pick some parsley, so here I am in my garden, and I'm going to get some leaves of parsley for the dinner tonight, and I'm going to just check to make sure I don't need to pick some squash or maybe some tomatoes too. This is really nice, really growing well. I need a half a cup, so I'm just kind of guessing If I get more, I'll just keep it wrapped up in a moist towel in the refrigerator for the next time I need some parsley. That should do it. All right, that's good enough. Let me measure. Oh, yep, that's plenty. I'm going to put it in a bowl and get going on my other vegetables too. Next come the green onions. I've already washed them, so all I'm going to do now is just cut off the stem end and slice them thinly, an entire bunch. This adds to the vegetables and adds to the delicious flavor of the final dish. And be sure to include all the green onion, white and green part. Entire thing. I'm just going to take this and put it in the bowl and set it aside. And of course, you need to add some garlic. Anywhere from 2 to 4 cloves, finely chopped, or you can run them through a garlic press. Add them to your vegetable mixture, and they get cooked along with everything else. And the last thing, really, that's kind of difficult to do is just chop up 1 whole onion. And like many dishes, this is something that can be made a day ahead, early in the morning, and cooled in the refrigerator until serving time. Reheat it in the microwave, it'll taste just delicious. Okay, that's it. The hard part is really done, and that was the chopping of the parsley and the 2 different kinds of onions. The rest of the stuff is really easy. Okay, stovetop now. I need to heat my pan, medium high, and what I want to do is heat the pan, then put in the oil, heat that up, and then get the vegetables in and start sauteing them. I'm going to use 1/4 cup of fine quality olive oil. Heat it for a bit and then add all the chopped vegetables. And I want to saute them until the dry onion turns just a little translucent. I think you can hear it. The vegetables are sauteing nicely. The onions are just starting to turn a little translucent. And at this point, what I want to do is add 1 cup of long grain white rice. And I want to saute this for a few minutes, along with the vegetables. So just stir it up and let it cook. And it already smells really good. Of course, you've got 2 kinds of onions and garlic and the parsley. But it's really delicious when you add the tomato and the seasonings. So I'm going to let this cook a little bit. I want the rice to turn just a little bit golden brown from the sauteing, and the onions to cook a little bit more. While my vegetables are sauteing and the rice is sauteing, I'm going to take care of the spinach. Since I'm opting today to use frozen spinach, I need to kind of squeeze dry it. It's already thawed. So I just want to get rid of excess moisture. It's really not hard. Grab a hunk of spinach and start squeezing. Okay, that looks good. Grab another hunk and just do this for both packages. Now be sure to stir your sauteing rice and vegetables every once in a while. You don't want anything to burn. You just want them to turn a little light brown, especially the rice. Well, everything has sauteed nicely. Some of the rice has turned a nice golden brown. So it's time for another step. I'm going to add 1 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. And 1 1/2 cups of water. To this, I want to add 2 teaspoons of oregano, and I'm using the Greek oregano from my garden, but of course any oregano will do fine. About 2 teaspoons of oregano. Then a teaspoon of mint, and this is dried mint from my garden too, but of course mint from the grocery store is just fine. 1 teaspoon of mint. And a teaspoon of dill weed. Give this a good stir. And lastly, about a teaspoon of salt and some pepper. Salt and some pepper. Stir it up. Make sure everything is mixed well. Turn the heat down low and look at it in about another 20 minutes. It's been about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to check my rice. I want to make sure that it's just done. I don't want it overcooked, but at the same time, I don't want to do the next step unless it's completely cooked all the way through. So I'm just going to take a little teeny forkful, see if I can get just rice, and give it a taste. Okay, that's pretty good. Now take a look at your pan, and if it looks a little dry, you can always add a little bit more water. And of course, if you feel the rice isn't quite done, then add a little bit of water, put the top on, and cook it for a few minutes more. Now this is ready for the next step, which is the final step, and that's adding the spinach. I want to take the spinach that I squeezed dry, and because it's in big clumps, I'm going to kind of just crumble it up. And once I get the spinach all crumbled up, I'm just going to stir it in. All I want to do now is just stir the spinach in. Just stir the spinach in. Distribute it as evenly as possible. Now this rice would have tasted just fine without the spinach, but the spinach adds a very nice touch, and it's very, very Greek. This is a famous Greek dish. It's very traditional. Although you'll never find it, or most likely you won't find it at a Greek restaurant or Greek festival. It's one of those down-home style Greek foods. It's something that the ordinary, everyday Greek family would eat on a daily basis. It's delicious. It's really good for you. And you know, there's another variation, and that's made with leeks, using 1.5 pounds of thinly sliced leeks, both the white part and the green part. Of course, if you're going to use leeks, you're going to need to cook everything just a little longer because leeks are a little tougher than spinach. Okay, this is all incorporated. I'm going to put the cover on and just let it cook on a low heat for an additional 10 minutes, and that'll be that. Just enough for the spinach to cook through. Everything's all done. The rice is cooked, the spinach is cooked, and it's ready to serve. And As most Greek dishes with tomato sauce, this can be served with plain, unsweetened yogurt. It's actually delicious. And it makes a wonderful meal, light meal, but with the addition of yogurt, it's got full protein. Look at the beautiful color. All the green from the spinach and the green onions, and then it has just a delicious flavor with all those different spices. It's a delicious alternative to a heavy meal. It's tasty, light, delicious, and good for you. Try it. You want to come with me? I'm going to a Greek festival. Hi, this is really exciting. We're at this wonderful Greek festival, and there's all kinds of food around me, all kinds of people and things to buy. I can hardly wait to get started. So come on, let's go visit a booth. We're here with Cynthia, who's going to give us a little bit of background into this festival and into St. Anna's Greek Orthodox Church. Cynthia, what is the purpose of this entire festival?
Well, the festival, first of all, each church establishes their date and their time for each festival, and this is the time of year for St. Anna to celebrate and gather and almost experience life as a village, and get everyone together.
On behalf of all your viewers, I'd like to introduce you to Mrs. Angie Tinios. Angie has been in charge of our pastry baking at all of our food festivals, both for St. Anna's in Roseville and many of the festivals that you know in Sacramento. Here she is, Angie Tinios.
Say a few words.
Thank you very much for being here, and we are very happy that we are in Folsom, and we are having a wonderful time. It's just great to see all these people here. Thank you for coming and attending our festival.
Well, thank you for sharing these wonderful, wonderful recipes.
Thank you.
I tell you, Greeks love to eat sweets, don't
yes,
they?
They do. And it's all with butter. Everything is with butter.
I know, the real thing. Yeah, you don't dare use margarine. I know that. I know that. Well, thank you. It's wonderful meeting both of you. Thank you. Now, this is a recipe for rice pudding, but it's Greek-style rice pudding. It's actually cooked over the stove. It's not baked, and it really doesn't have any eggs in it. This is the kind of stuff my grandma used to make. So let's get started on this one. To make this very simple rice pudding, you need short grain rice, short grain white rice. Of course, you need some sugar, a little bit of butter, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of cinnamon, some raisins, and some milk. Whole milk is probably best, but 2% would work well too. The first step is really easy. Just measure out 1/3 cup of the short grain rice into a bowl and add 1/2 cup water. Mix it up a little bit and let it sit while you're doing other things. The other things include getting the milk ready. I needed 1 quart of milk, and I need to bring it to a boil. To help it along, I heated the quart up in the microwave for about 3 minutes. So I'm going to put this milk into my saucepan. It's already warmed, and I'm making a nice mess of it. And I'm going to add 1/2 cup of sugar. Over medium heat, I'm going to bring this to a boil. There's my ½ cup sugar. Obviously, with something like milk, I don't want to heat it way too high because then it will burn. So over medium heat, over the course of a few minutes, it will come to a boil. It's been about 10 minutes. The milk has been heating up over a medium heat, and I've been stirring it every few minutes, and it's just starting to come to a boil. So now I'm going to add the rice and the water that I had set aside earlier. And it's back to boil again, and stirring again every few minutes. I'm just going to bring this up to a boil again. I'm seeing some bubbles break, so it's come to a boil again. And now what I'm going to do is just turn the heat down to a simmer, moderate heat, and keep it at a simmer for about 10 to 15 minutes, stirring every few minutes until the rice gets cooked. So that's it. Just stir and cook. The rice has been simmering now for about 20 minutes. I've stirred it, I'd say every 3 or 4 minutes, just to make sure that it doesn't burn, it doesn't stick. It's gotten a little bit thicker. I want to check just to make sure the rice is cooked. I don't want to go on to the next step unless this is completely cooked. So I'm sticking in a fork, grabbing a few kernels of rice, a few grains. Okay, it's completely cooked. This is one time where the rice needs to be fully cooked. It shouldn't be al dente at all. Now the next step is to add a tablespoon of butter. Just plop it in there. ½ cup of raisins, dark raisins. And it's your choice. Anywhere from 1/4 to a ½ teaspoon of cinnamon, just depending on how much cinnamon flavor you like. Add that. And the same measurements for vanilla. Anywhere from 1/4 of a teaspoon to a ½ teaspoon. Stir this all up and let it cook for an additional 5 minutes. Now, right now, this mixture is slightly thickened. It certainly doesn't look an awful lot like a pudding. But believe me, once you put it into a serving dish and let it cool, it will thicken considerably. So cook it anywhere from 5 to 10 more minutes. Take a look at this. It's been cooking about 5 minutes, and this is the right consistency. If it gets any thicker, then when it cools, it'll be way too thick and kind of rubbery. So this is a perfect consistency. And it's time to serve this up. Obviously, you're not going to eat this boiling hot, but just ladle this mixture into some nice dessert dishes or dessert bowls and let it cool. You can refrigerate it and serve it ice cold, maybe with a dollop of whipped cream, or you can serve it when it's still warm. It doesn't matter, it's slightly warm. Just let it cool down a bit. It'll thicken more. It looks so pretty. It's very nice, creamy texture. It's rich. And it's different from all those recipes of baked and eggy rice pudding. For an added bit of interest, you can sprinkle some additional cinnamon on the top. This is very traditional. This is how Greek people make rice pudding. And this is the recipe my grandma used to make. So why don't you try it? It's kind of an interesting dessert. Very homey.